Standing in front of you is the barn that was built in 1891, along with the original Peter Wunderlich house. Built of oak, the exterior of the barn was rebuilt in 2001. If you look carefully at the original wood frame of the barn, and you can see that the posts are simply hand-hewn trunks of trees. The right side of the barn contains two large rooms, or cribs, where corn and potatoes were stored. Wagons could be driven through the barn opening, making it easier to load items into the storage area of the cribs. On the left-hand side, opposite the two large cribs, are two small areas where calves or sheep could be penned for the night. Standing in the opening of this barn is a 1952 Alice Commerce tractor, donated by Klein High School Ag Department in honor of Superintendent Dr. Don Collins' retirement in 2000. The first tractors were produced in 1914, but they were expensive and offered no great advantages. Tractors improved, and from 1937 to 1957, over 125,000 were sold. Tractors revolutionized farming. Gasoline-powered tractors developed in the early 1900s were used for a variety of things. The engines were used to run washing machines and other machines around the home, such as grinders and saws. These machines were usually run off the tractor belt. Of course, the tractor was mostly used in farming activities, especially plowing and harvesting. A tractor could pull different attachments for plowing, harrowing, and threshing. With the added power, several rows could be plowed or worked at one time. Tractors lightened the labor and required less maintenance than animals. More land could thus be used raising human food than raising farm animals. With tractors and more farm work completed, young men could stay in school longer. The 1890s farm wagon located behind the tractor belonged to William Kron, who came from Germany with his parents in 1860. William then gave the wagon to his son Simon when he got married in 1922. Simon then gave it over to his son Earl when he began farming in 1945. The wagon's wheels were redone in the 1930s. At haying time, the wagon box could be removed and a large hay frame could be put in its place. Hay was stored in the hay loft. And at one time, this wagon was green. But a tornado came through one time and removed all the paint. The loft, located directly above this wagon on the upper left side, was used to store hay bales during the winter months. As we walk into the middle section of the barn, you'll notice an assortment of seed planters. In the earliest farm days, you would plant a seed one by bending over and dropping a single piece of seed into the ground by hand and then pushing the dirt over the seed with your foot. A major improvement came when they created a handheld seed planter. The small handheld planter, when you brought the two sides together, dropped a seed into the ground at the proper depth for planting. But this seed planter was pulled by a mule, and seeds held in the canister would be released into the ground, and then the roller closed the dirt over the seed. Life was so much better with this type of planter. Life eventually got a lot better with the tractor, as we saw earlier. The smaller junior seed planter, seen here, was used for garden crops such as cabbage, cucumbers, etc. Gardens in the backyard had rows too small for a mule to pull a plow. The planters that we just saw belonged to the Kron family. A very important job of the boys on the farm was to gather manure and spread that over the crops as fertilizer. Before the invention of the manure spreader, boys on the farm would have to stand in a wagon and break manure into pieces and throw them out into the soil. With the invention of a manure spreader, the breaking into pieces and spreading down onto the soil was completely hands-free. This manure spreader is much older, typically about the 1890s, and completely made out of wood. This belonged to the Roth family. Sitting outside the barn is a manure spreader of about 1915 that used to belong to Fred Krimmel and was later bought by Reinhard Wunderlich. Manure was such an important fertilizer that cattle were often penned up at night to collect the manure. In spring, the manure was spread on the fields before planting. To grow properly, plants need water and food just like people. Plants get nutrition from the soil from their root system. If that soil is depleted of nutrients, crops are rotated or the soil is fertilized. Down at the far left section of the barn is what we call the carriage shed. This early buggy was donated by James Wunderlich. Do you think this would be suitable to take a family with 12 children to town? Not all families could afford a buggy like this. On the wall is an advertisement from the Sears catalog. Did you know a buggy like this would cost about $22 or $25? Next to the fancier buggy is what we call a hop-along. It might look incomplete, but except for adding a horse, it's complete. These were used by young men or couples just starting out. Riding across the farm in a hop-along would be much quicker than walking. This particular hop-along belonged to the Metzler family. Throughout these three sections of the barn are various pieces of equipment, horse tackle, bits and bridles, and even harnesses to yoke up your horses to go plowing. Farming was not an easy job, but one that was rewarding, and all of the family helped participate in. We hope you'll come back and visit with us again.